my thought process on the Stow is I have the Parawing down and in there and separate than the lines, which is, I
Hmm.
haven't really seen too many people do this, but it's worked great for me. Because then, say if I'm doing upwind downwinds and I'm approaching the shore that now there's waves, I'll be on foil, open it up, pull the bar out, check, all my lines, and I'm like, oh, they look good. Then you don't even have to reach in there and grab it. You can kind of just pop the pair wing out,
Hmm.
and then as you're still going downwind, I'll drop it out and look at it. And then as I want to put more pressure on it, if it's not tangled, I'll then kind of bear up into the wind and then add tension to it. But if you keep going at it downwind on bumps, you can kind of keep it slack and look at it, which I've heard, I think Greg talk about this, where,
Hmm.
instead of, just like popping it out and be like, woo, this is awesome.
Yeah, like
But then if it's tangled, it's going
shooting
to
it out.
start
Yeah.
downloping or whatever. That method of separating the bar
Hmm.
stow with the pair wing makes it easier to stay up on the bumps because you can do one short task at a time. So you're
Hmm.
like, put it in and then re-look at the bumps and then put the bar in. And then it also helps to, break the, deploying back into steps.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And it's the moment, it's the most critical moment really in the downwind run for you to get wrong is that transition. Cause I remember at the start, just because I didn't have the movements right, I was trying to do it too quickly and trying to get rid of it too quickly. You could just hold on to that thing in your hand for a minute if you want to get a sense of what the bumps are doing, the patterns are doing, get used to the conditions. And then you're like, all right, I got this. I know where I'm at. I know the speed. I know, like the timing. And then you start packing it in. Like that could work as well. It's just slowing it down, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great idea to not pack it away. Like I feel pretty comfortable as soon as I'm on my bump
Mm.
to like make it work. But I find pair winging out and then packing it away actually a much more difficult transition into downwinding than paddling up, where you're just out there, you're slow, you're assessing the conditions. Then you're like, I caught this. So it's just like catching a wave, and now I'm up and I'm going, and you're always just going the speed of the bumps. You're never like sailing super fast and towing yourself in and then slowly like slowing down. You're like, oh no, I
Yep.
went too
No, no,
fast and
no.
stuff. So yeah, so if you're not confident downwinding, like what you said, go ahead, slow down before
Mm.
you stow it, then hold it in your hands and get a sense, because whenever you put it in the pouch, it's harder to get a clean redeploy, and you might as well just have it there. So as you're learning, you can, pop it back up if you fall again and
Hmm.
have less chance of tangles. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea to like ease yourself into reading the bumps for that day, because maybe they're totally different. Maybe there is long interval that you need to account for that you didn't see on the forecast, or maybe it's, whatever. There's a whole bunch of seaweed that's out there that's going to
Mm.
keep catching you and you want to deal with it. So yeah, I think that's a great idea for learning, is keeping it, in your hand for a while and taking your time.
Yeah, taking your time. And I think one of the things that I also think you have a lot of experience with now is when you're packing everything, you have a paddle in your back, you have the paddling in your pouch, you have the PFD. What are you using to connect, your paddle to your back? And what's the technique of actually going from paddling, stow, now I got the paddle out and I'm riding with the paddle? Because you always have the paddle out even when you're doing a paddling run, don't you?
Yeah. So, well, let me clarify. When I do, like, the reason I have the paddle with me is because I like it for surfing. And turning, it's kind of nice, and it's a useful maneuver. Say you're like have a crazy breach on a wave or something, you can kind of like fling it out like a cougar tail or something to balance yourself and recover from something where if you didn't have that, you'd probably eat it. But I don't use a paddle when I'm doing upwind downwinders, where it's straight on shore at my beach. And I'm just limiting myself to only going out, say, a mile, and I'll do quicker laps so I don't spend, endless amount of time,
Mm, yeah.
just going out to sea. Cause then I'm like, I don't trust the wind out here. So I use the paddle as a backup whenever I'm going like point A to point B and I'm covering distances, because I don't know if the wind's going to totally shut off, or if it's only windy in the very beginning, I can still do a 20-kilometer run with the parawing and cut out, wait out to sea to get that great run for the whole time. And then I can just use the three, not think, oh, is it going to get lighter? I'd take a bigger
Yeah.
one. So
Yeah.
yeah. So whenever I'm doing point A to point B, I'm taking my paddle with me. I use bike inner tube
Hmm.
and electrical tape. So I kind of like do it so it's tight because I don't want it flapping around once I'm actually downwinding. I just
Hmm.
want this like kind of seamless little deal. And then I'll just put that over and it's kind of lower on my chest right here. So it's kind of on my PFD and that stays really tight. The paddle's down and you want to do the bike inner tube so the paddle is facing away from you, not like
Hmm.
this way, when you're
Yep.
doing the tape job. And so I'll get up, usually with our wind direction, I'll get up toe side. And so that's a benefit of pair winging compared to winging. It's way easier to get up toe side than it was winging, or, it's like you hold it with one
One
hand and
hand.
it's
Yeah.
more, of your board like a downwind get up than anything. You just kind of hold the pair wing and you pump it up. So
Hmm.
that helps kind of the paddle stays out of the way when you're getting up toe side that way or heel side. Um, I'll go out, do my rod and line augmentation whether that's here in Pismo because I just want to get cheap, not have to do the paddle and get a little bit further out, or if I'm down in Santa Barbara and I just want to get way out and improve the run line. Say it's too onshore, like we were just up in Oregon and the wind's way too onshore to even do a sup downwind run. It just
Yeah.
doesn't
Right.
work. You can't get down the coast. So we'll kind of take it way out to make a side onshore run possible down the coast. But yeah, in that case, whenever I'm pair winging, I'll have the paddle across my chest and then I'll stow it and I'll be up on foil and then I just kind of grab it and then pull it off and then I have it in
Right.
my hand. Yeah.
Do
And
you ever
so
feel that the
like
wind kind of catches the paddle a little bit and it becomes a little bit weird when you're riding it out?
no, but
Mm.
I wouldn't find that a good solution for riding with it upwind. I would find like say if I'm doing a couple tacks
Mm.
upwind or like, trying to earn ground, I wouldn't have a paddle with me because it's too annoying. But if I'm just kind of getting out, I don't even need to go upwind. I'm just going, out. It's n- not very noticeable. You notice it most when you're down on the board and you're going to get up. You just have your paddle stick
Yep.
out a little bit higher than your head. And you're just like, okay, don't catch that on the bridle when you're flying your pair wing. So usually when you're flying your pair wing, you kind of leave it where one little part of it's touching the water as you put your other hand on the board. As long as you're flying it like that, you can kind of avoid your the top half of your paddle from poking it. Uh, so yeah, no, I wouldn't go a ton upwind, but it's not that annoying for just doing a reach out.
Yeah,
It's
because I think a lot of
pretty
people,
easy.
and some of my mates here do that as well, that they're learning. They'll take the parawing out and they'll do a couple of legs upwind. And because they're just learning how to get on foil with the paddle, a 1 kilometer run down to shore is actually useful for them still. So
Mhm.
just knowing where to position that properly. But I think what you explained is pretty good and trying to get it out of the wind as much as possible because it's a little sail as
Yeah,
well.
if
But
it's down,
mm,
if it's down, it's kind of not too bad. I did try a three-piece paddle in the beginning because I just wanted to, try pair winging with hands free and see like everyone's like, oh, it's so awesome to be hands free and going downwind. I was like, okay, let's try it out. And I thought, it'd be better to learn pair winging without, the paddle over the side. I want to just do it my first time hands free. So I put the three-piece paddle in my back. I actually found on the board that I want to ride in the ocean, which is
mm,
a 105 liter 7.2 downwind board that's very surf focused. Like I have a 8.6 for riding my 110 tiny foils and paddling out, but I never use it because I always want to ride my 7.2. I'll always go down to this board. And so what I found is turning and being aggressive on that board. I like the paddle in my hand versus
mhm.
having the hands free because I could be more aggressive. I'm turning harder and sharper because I'm used to that paddle. But as you get down in board size pair wing, so say you're on a 70 liter, a 60 liter, 80 liter kind of one that you can't paddle,
Mhm.
it's still nice sometimes to have that paddle in hand. And I've seen a couple of people like Walker did in the gorge on his like little 40 liter
Yep.
with the paddle on it, just, as to rip turns harder.
Hmm.
But I feel like it becomes less necessary because you're not whipping around this bigger board like we are downwind supping. So it really depends on what kind of downwinding you do, dictates the size of board, and that dictates whether or not you want to paddle